In this week's Memes and Machines, it is our final episode of the year. So we start by roasting ourselves, the predictions we got wrong, the things we wish we never said. We then start gloating with the things that we got right. Where do we feel really smug right now in our marketing, tech, and creator predictions? And then finally, we look forward to the future. What do we predict for 25 and beyond? An episode not to miss. And if you haven't subscribed, liked, or watched this, please do all that. I always forget this is like mainly on YouTube, and I never ask anyone to subscribe. So if you've liked anything that we've ever done, please hit that button. And next year, I think we're going to come out bigger. We're going to try and do some merch. We're going to maybe do some in person. We're going to maybe do some guests. I'm not making promises, but I think Chris, Ben, and I, we just really enjoy these conversations. So hopefully you do too.
Sit back, grab a cold beverage from the fridge, and relax, because you're now locked into the sounds of memes and machines.
Memes and Machines, we are back. This is the Christmas / end of year special. No one is wearing a reindeer nose. No one is wearing their horns, a hat. I'm actually disappointed in you both. I'm going to be honest.
Sorry, mate.
You should be. It's not me. You've let yourself down. I was expecting festivities. I'm sure Jay can do some post-production, some jingle bells, some Mariah Carey. Something that isn't going to get us
Apparently,
infringing on
Instagram,
IP.
AI filters will allow that next year. We could just AI filter ourselves into some Santa outfits.
Perfect.
I saw that. I saw that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of novel. But anyway, let's not get digressed, gents. I'm not even going to ask you what you. I'm not going to ask you what you bought me for Christmas, even that I selfishly want to. What I got both of you is one of these beautiful hoodies, shameless plug, embroidered. Will be on its way. I do want to give you the format of this session. I want us to run through three things. We're going to start with a Christmas roast. Everyone loves a roast. I want you to share your predictions that you got wrong, number one. Number two, I want you to say something with glee, something you got right, something to gloat about, something you've been banging on about last year that ended up becoming true and fact. And then finally, we'll dive into our predictions for next year. I think we'll speculate, we'll get our conspiracy theory hats on, we'll do it all in true memes and machines styles. So, Chris, I'm going to come to you. Give us your roast.
What I got wrong?
What you got wrong?
Yeah, so I think I made, and I'll give Jay the link, like a podcast episode in about November of 2023 saying, well, firstly, how remarkable it is that we're in photorealistic mid-journey times. We'd just seen the update between 4 and 5, and it really tipped a point where things started to look like genuinely shocking. I sent my mum like A/B example. This is a real image. This is a generative image. Can you tell? And she was 50% wrong. So at that point, I was like, oh, wow, this is really something different now. And I said that won't happen for video for at least 5 years because it's just such a harder nut to crack. Obviously, knowing like video is 24 or 36 frame rate per second, you're talking about 36 generations and it all continuously making sense. It felt like just such a harder problem than images was. But then, like less than 6 weeks later, OpenAI came out with their Sora demonstration, and they'd never even hinted that they were building this thing. It was completely unknown, and they'd kept it in the dark somehow. No one had released any knowledge of it. And then, bang, it came out, shocked the world. But then it's only just come out last week, and it's not even available in Europe and the UK. So a lot of hype and a lot of wait for something that's actually not as competitive as VO2, which is Google's new thing, which looks like a world beater, honestly. The most realistic video I've ever seen.
Can I say, although you were wrong on timeframes, you kind of just, I think we've all been wrong. I
Way
think
wrong, though.
things within AI have happened faster they're accelerating. So I don't think that's a massive fall. What I will say is I think I've become desensitized to how incredible these leaps forwards are, because I saw some recent models of someone cutting a steak and comparing every model around the same prompt. And I was looking at it going, this is really naff. But objectively, it's incredible. If you'd have shown me that a year ago and said that was AI generated, I look at it today and go, pretty naff. But it is wild how our impressions shift so radically.
Well, it's very obvious that humans are very bad at exponential curves.
Yes.
We're very, very bad at predicting things that increase at that rate. And there's a lot of hype too in the industry about what's actually going on. You know, like you say, you don't know what's a real exponential and what's just hype, because they predict and say that that's going to happen, but actually that doesn't turn into reality. But in real terms, you know, like, it's unfathomable. You know, the great meme that Jay will add in here is the Will Smith eating spaghetti video. And to go from that to the demo I saw from VO2 a day ago is literally unthinkable within a year. It's unthinkable. It's like Hollywood going through VFX and having Star Wars and then having, like, you know, next level CGI Avatar straight after that. You know, like, it's really, nothing has ever existed in history in my career that's seen that level of increase of capacity and capability. You know, traditional software, Photoshop goes through an update every other year and it adds a few extra features and they're not world breaking. And now we're going from platforms that never existed to ones that have hundreds of millions of users, and they barely even spent a cent on marketing. Is that groundbreaking?
Yeah, I agree. Ben, what do you think of his of Chris's?
He's gone dark, into the super dark.
I'm gonna call it a lukewarm roast, because it was like one of those subtle brags where you go, I got it wrong, I just got the time. I got it right, but the time frame was wrong.
I didn't even know that it was going to be that good in 5 years. I just said it's going to take at least that amount of time to see anything like Midjourney just had. And I was so wrong. It took less than 5 months. I was 10 times wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I think within the next year, I said my prediction to some people is, I think based on the fact that there's now, like, just a lot more competition in terms of a bit like Chris said, the Sora came out of nowhere. There wasn't really anybody else that was building anything like that to that quality. In between that period and now, some models launched, I think, within 6 months of that, but they were all kind of shit, to be honest. And then in the last 6 months, you then had just like 5 or 6 that have launched theirs, and then Google launched theirs. Meta have launched theirs, but not publicly. No. I can't. ByteDance have about. ByteDance have got. I don't know. They seem to just have got about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Every time I see something, a news article from them, it's about like a model that's called a different thing for video. Yep. So fuck knows what they're building, but they've obviously got a big pool of video data.
All the Asian companies are doing it, by the way. Tencent is another big one.
Yeah, I've seen them doing it.
Alibaba is another big one. Like, they've all got models now.
These companies haven't even launched theirs yet, and these are the bigger fish with just more resource compared to the likes of Runway, Pika, Hailu, Luma Labs, right? Kling. Yeah, these aren't owned by big super tech giants. So the fact that Google's
you just mentioned 3 that didn't even exist last year. That's the coolest thing. Kling and Minimax are completely new horses to this race, and Runway's been progressively getting better.
Yeah,
it's been 3 or 4 years for Runway now, and Pika too. They were OG, but Kling and Minimax didn't even exist, and now they're like top 3, which is really, really crazy.
Yeah, it's just clearly the bigger tech companies have, Meta, ByteDance, and Google have obviously invested heavily in it. I'd be really interested to know where they were a year ago.
They were holding back a year ago.
Whether they had made any progression or they were just silent.
No, so VO1 was actually a partial release. It never even got fully released to the public. It was
really shit though, wasn't it? I know
was
Google
iffy. It was very glitchy. Yeah.
From my understanding, the updates that came under Gemini 2 were the first updates and models publicly released by Google that have actually got people thinking, shit, Google are now in this race, right?
Yeah.
Everything that they've released prior to that has been underwhelming compared to what has already been out.
It's been because of safety, because they've had the capabilities clearly.
Yeah,
they even invented
Google, right?
white paper, the Transformer paper came from them. So this whole AI revolution is because of Google's researchers.
Yeah.
At one point, in fact, there was just a bit of a nerdy thing here. 70% of people that worked in AI worked at Google, 10 years ago. And now we've got a load of disbursement of companies. And this is really good for the competition you mentioned, because now there's a lot more drive for them to release their capabilities, because others will do so and beat them to the punch. Many have beat Sora, many have beat VO2, but now they're coming in late horses. And as you said, Meta coming in with Movie Gen in January. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Will they be in the top 3 then? It might be too late by then.
I think what I'm gathering is the race for dominance is still on, and now there are so many players, and you see these almost infinity loops where once a company makes a decision to compete, all tides rise with it. You have so many people driving, and the standards are just getting raised so quickly.
Yeah.
And who's the winner? Well, creatives for me.
Definitely.
We now get access, and I'll actually save this for maybe our predictions, but we all get access to tools that are Hollywood grade, production crews at our hands. And what that allows you to do, if you have an imagination, is bloody fascinating.
Yeah.
Gents, I want to segue just to give you my prediction, because this can be short and sweet, and you can roast me and give you your takes. And Ben, you'll probably have stronger opinions on this one. So the thing I am unapologetic about, but I got radically wrong, and I say it tongue-in-cheek because I was fully aware that I was making provocative statements, but I did jump on the Threads hype train at the time, and my play was I suppose case at the time was don't bet against Zuck. If you think of the context of the world, Elon was under extreme scrutiny. He was becoming a villain. You had mass exodus on X, from advertisers through to staff, through to people saying they're going to leave the platform. And Zuck came out and said, with Adam Mosseri, we're going to create a text-based platform. And it wasn't a space that Meta had competed in a long time or attempted to, but they seized the moment and they put the full weight of Meta behind it and Instagram, and made the friction for signing up accounts really low. And within a short space of time, I think they had tens of millions of users within a couple of days. I think they hit 100 million really quickly. But the key with anything is always retention. And Instagram have tried hard ever since its launch to find a way to retain users. You can't go onto Instagram without having so many Threads recommendations in feed at all times. So they're pushing it hard. I haven't looked at the latest data, but I don't know people that in brand marketing talk about Threads. I don't know people that actively use it religiously. And I admit I was probably wrong. I backed the Zuck train and said he can probably don't bet against him. But my friend Catty, who used to be on Memes and Machines co-host, he made the view that when you take the fast route, my view, they had all the distribution advantages of acquiring users quickly. They had all the weight, the resources, the product knowledge. His view was contrarian, and he said you can't build real communities. You've got to do that. You've got to do them brick by brick. You've got to build the foundations. And if you bypass all those foundations, you end up with a platform with an identity crisis. And that to me was kind of what Threads became. And if I look at my recent example, if I go into Threads today, it feels like people that are Instagrammers just sharing random one sentence thoughts. And it's kind of void of value. I don't see its role. It feels like, this is going to sound insulting, but low IQ Twitter. And Twitter's a pretentious, shitty place at times, by the way, or X, should I say.
Should I fucking put that out on Threads? I'll get a lot of hate. I might just say I love Threads, but it feels like a low IQ Twitter. Oh my god, I get actually shat on. You're right. You're right.
Clip it and put it on there.
You're right though. Like Threads. So I use Threads daily.
Really?
Yeah, because
why?
Wow.
It's because it's the lowest friction writing platform where I actually get seen.
Yeah, it's quick
X,
as well.
I just don't get anything on X. I don't have a big following. I have 900 followers. I've posted there for about 6-7 months and I get nothing. So LinkedIn, I wouldn't post this just random thoughts. So Threads is now, because my audience of creators are there who from Instagram. My just like thoughts of like are relevant to that audience. It's low friction, it's low effort. I don't overthink it. But I do. The biggest gripe that I have, and along the low value point that you made, is that because, so for people that don't know, anybody that when Threads launched, if you signed up quickly, if you signed up before your followers signed up, anytime your followers signed up, you acquire them as a follower on Threads because it gives you the option. So basically, the quicker you were to Threads, the more followers you would gain from your followers on Instagram joining. So yeah, if you were late, you maybe missed an extra 50,000 followers if you are a decent sized Instagram account. The problem that I have, and this makes me laugh, and I've wanted to put a thread out about it for a while, but I know I'll get shouted, is that like, I don't count my followers on there. I have about 30,000 followers. I have like 28,000. I don't even think of those as followers because I think I gained most of them from Instagram. And yet I see, this sounds really horrible. I see people like celebrating like follower counts on there. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's like people are like, oh yeah, just hit like 4,000 followers on Threads. And to me, I'm like, I don't even count followers on here because they weren't earned by the majority of people, which has been a big problem for me because then you can't tell who's actually earned their stripes and who's not.
If you think about it,
you don't get the feedback loops around your ideas and contents.
No, it was a huge
it's everyone already has.
Like in the initial like launch of the platform, essentially there was something to be gained in those first 2 weeks of FOMO that they did.
Yeah.
You can't now get if you join Threads, you know? So like Ben's saying, you could have gained literally 50,000 more of your Instagram followers if you did something in the
if you were an earlier, that was my case originally, was if a new platform arises in social media and it's gaining traction, just be there, because if it sticks around in 5 years and it's successful, you will thank your former self. That was kind of my case.
They really screwed up though, because think about it. They've pinned people against each other in a sort of like, oh, you didn't earn that thing and followers mean nothing.
But I don't get this. You haven't earned this. That's what I was trying to interrogate with.
Because if you were there at the time, then you got a lot more than.
No. I understand that you're migrating your own audience. Like, no, I get that, but I mean, it's still a captive audience that might.
Because when you go on to X and you see someone with 100,000 followers on X, they've earned that follower count.
And
you go,
no like
this person
has from Instagram
gained those followers on Threads. Anybody that has a sizable following on Threads, I instantly think I go on their Instagram. I'm like, they've obviously got a big Instagram following, and they have because.
So what's the problem?
No, they didn't earn it on Threads though, which means I'm not able to validate the quality of their written content. They are good at making videos because there's some people with some fucking wanky opinions. Right, and I'll go on, and I'm like, who's this? I'll go and check their Instagram to see.
It's like,
does this person have any credibility? They're giving out creator advice, and I'm like, well, they're going, oh yeah, I did this. They're sharing their observation almost like it's a fact, and I'm like, hold on a minute, let me go on your account. Okay, you've got 300 followers on Instagram.
Yeah,
you're not. your opinion's not validated. But then I'll also see people like complaining, like, oh no, I'm not getting any views on my reels. And I'll go on their account and they've got 200,000 followers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, you're just a fucking boomer that's been on Instagram for 8 years and you're crying because your photos don't work anymore. But like those people didn't earn those. They might have 40,000 followers, but
I know what you mean.
they haven't earned them. Like they've earned them through video
content. The fatal mistake of the platform was
I think it was
not creating it as a separate, independent platform.
Yes.
I wonder whether Zuckerberg, because of his whole monopoly thing, was actually made it an Instagram business because of that.
No,
because
you know
they're trying to separate WhatsApp and Meta and everything apart.
You know what I think? I think we're both right. The reason I'll say this, if we have slightly opposing views, I think it was the right decision to use their distribution. The reason I say that, Meta is so big, it's not worth the opportunity cost for them
I'm not
to
saying
play
don't invite them. I'm saying you have to establish its independence straight away. Yes, you've got 2 billion push notifications to your Instagram users to onboard people. That's fine. But then you have to establish why this is a low friction, different than image sharing platform from Instagram, and then create a separate community. And it shouldn't be tied together. It shouldn't be that if you've got a big Instagram followers, you started big on Threads, because now it's just the same people duplicated to a new platform. It's not a new place that people can thrive in, which is what they want from a new organic platform.
No, you can thrive in it. There are people. I think you're conflating two things there. There are advantages. If you have a big audience on Instagram, it's a very low friction way to create an audience. Creators' attention is divided. Ben is going to pay. If Ben couldn't migrate followers from his Instagram across easily, he wouldn't be a daily user. That's fact. So that was integral to capture creators' attention. So for you to get people to even care about your platform, you need to give them a reason. TikTok did it by making people with 0 followers give them 1 million followers early. They gave you fame. They would randomize fame in a way, and it became addictive. That's how TikTok gained that early traction and stickiness, because you could have no audience and through a discovery engine have a giant audience very quickly. Those dynamics shift over time. But if you think of my case is that Threads was, you have to recognize that when Meta enter this was the first time they'd done this in a long time, a brand new independent platform. They had a couple of choices. They could have launched it completely separate and took the slow path, and I think the slow path would have been conceivably better for any social network long term, because it means that you find an identity, you find a place in the world, you build a real community. I think that's a better route. However, Meta can't play those games. They would naturally just acquire an upstart. If they were going to do that, they'd wait till someone proved attraction, built a community, then acquired it. There'd be no point in them launching their first product however many years if they weren't going to use they saw the opportunity of the backlash against X and thought, we're going to try and capture this market, this shower.
Well, if that's all it was, then that was the biggest mistake they made.
I think the biggest mistake,
because I never think we've all discussed this over the last 5 minutes. I don't think anyone knows what Threads is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's an identity. I would agree that but my reason I think it won't survive and why I was wrong wasn't the reason that I think Meta made the right strategic play in how they launched. It wasn't that Threads didn't offer opportunity as a new platform and it wasn't worth the punt as a creator. I think the reason is that at the end of the day, social networks live and die by value. And if you take a load of people that don't have interesting text-based ideas and they start sharing text-based ideas, then the experience is poor and void and nil value. So for me, I think it's conceptually flawed, this idea of building another text-based community that isn't and Twitter and X has its problems. It's like intellectual jousting. It's so people are such snobs on there.
That's an interesting observation. I think you've just nailed it. When I first launched into Twitter, it was journalists and it was writers. And Instagram was photographers and art directors. And they're very different crowds. So to get an art direction crowd over to Threads, but I'm seeing, in my Threads, if I open it right now, it just looks like another Instagram. It's loads of images, it's loads of like videos. It just looks like that's what I mean. What is it?
They haven't made enough of a difference to stay true to like the text and the ideas yet.
No, mine's text. Mine's mainly text.
Is it?
Oh, mine's mainly like just the same stuff, AI art that I see on Instagram. And it's the same almost exact threads because, as we discussed earlier, unfortunately, the same people migrated over and now get all of the followers and no one could catch up. So it's basically a duplicate of Instagram, but maybe a bit worse. In my experience of the app, that's why I don't take it that seriously. That's why I was asking you guys, like, how do you see it? Because we all know if you made a brand new social account right now and turned on a VPN so it can't track any of your data, you'll see nothing like you've ever seen before. It will suggest things to you without knowing who you are, randomly, like Mr. Beast stuff on YouTube. You'll just get like the most viral things that other people are watching. So it's a completely different. Every app is like is tailored to you. Like I open an app, I see a completely different thing to what you see.
I think it's at this point now, I wanted to give them a year, but I would say it's inevitable that they'll just pack it in at some point. I just don't see, I think they have to.
I think it's going to be another metaverse for Zuck and a complete,
Yeah, and sometimes you make big plays and big resources. That's what big companies do. You have to take bets, and he saw an opportunity with the sentiment shifting against X and tried to capture that market. And I think he's failed at capturing that market.
I think it was actually out of spite because they didn't have an MMA fight.
Yeah, probably.
Zuckerberg and Musk were going to go at it, weren't they, at one point? It was literally being advertised.
We can pray for 2025 after now that, like, I think Elon's friends with Dana White now because he's in the, like, Trump cohort. The power couple of the conservative right in the US. Anyway, gents, Ben, give us your prediction you made where you were full of shit. Let's hear it.
As always. I didn't think TikTok Shop would take off this year, to be honest. TikTok launched Shop probably 2 years ago. They failed miserably in the UK in their first year. They launched it and then they kind of abandoned it because they have obviously, I've talked about this before, it's thriving in China. You have people just in department stores live streaming, selling products like on Shop. They struggled to launch in the UK, I think just primarily because it required people to create sales content. And I think people felt uncomfortable doing that. But as I've mentioned before, as soon as you flash people the cash, they then start doing shit that they used to feel uncomfortable doing because people do silly things for money. And now it seems to be Shop is thriving on TikTok. You've got people selling fucking jojoba oil, all sorts of shit. Like, it's very low. Like the products are sold at a low value. I've spoke to someone at Shop at a few events before. I know a guy who's part of their tech gaming sector, and I asked him, I said straight up, I said, most of the stuff that you guys sell on Shop is a load of shit. And he goes, I know.
Same as the drop shipping though. It feels like those products are very similar to the drop shipping stuff.
And he says they're trying to solve that problem. They're trying to have more, they're trying to create partnerships with bigger tech brands like the HPs, the laptop companies, Logitech, etc., to actually make it more of a marketplace that is selling everything.
Do you know what though? I saw a really interesting video breakdown on this. Like, the reason that those big brands don't sponsor like YouTube and TikTok videos is because they don't need the exposure. The reasons that lots of really poor tech companies actually sponsor TikTok is because they know that's the only way they're going to get through to the people that would potentially buy from them. Because
influencers aren't going to promote that shit.
Exactly.
But they'll get people that aren't influencers.
You don't see big tech companies generally approaching influencers because they don't need it.
No, they do. No, I'd hard disagree there.
I
work with loads of big tech companies.
Yeah, though. I agree. But like, that's traditionally why they've not been like, into social media advertising. That's at least their excuse. Yeah,
I'd say that. Well, I think you've had the fragmentation or the evolution of what a creator is. Creators and influencers historically were fashion, beauty, aesthetics, video, entertainment. They in the board like entertainment and lifestyle category. That's what people assumed influencer and creator marketing was. Then over time, you have the emergence of the Bens of the world, and people then being built around a passion or an interest that's very specific. So I think it's more to do with like the natural trend. My view on TikTok Shop is like social commerce. Like I've worked in social media for a decade, and for a full decade, everyone has talked about social commerce. Pinterest were best placed to take advantage because you were in inspiration mindset. I go to Pinterest to find inspiration to then potentially go buy things.
Yeah.
They were like, they should have won that, but they built their ad tech, that the platform was built on was atrocious. They didn't get their ad products right, etc., missed that opportunity. Go a step forward, Instagram came out hard with shopping tags. You could shop. That failed. Didn't get enough volume. But they were they were the magazine. Why go to a website when you can see your favorite inspiration and creators and be able to click on an image and seamlessly integrate shopping? Didn't pull it off. They kind of, I suppose, put their resources in other areas, other R&D efforts, and really started to neglect shop. And then TikTok came across again as a Trojan horse. And what they did is they trained their users first on live. They basically created all these like gamified live where you now have battles and you have that separate feed where you're just scrolling through different live fucking death spirals. And actually, alongside that, then they were perfectly placed to take advantage of shop and shopping. So it's almost like TikTok have done this time and time again. They've been this Trojan horse where they've been underestimated. Everyone's like, oh, it's silly, it's stupid, it's dancers, it's all kids. So then, and it was like the fastest growing audiences were main category buyers over 25. And then you go, okay. So they managed to then take up all social media spend. And then they proliferated the internet with their videos, the TikTokification of every platform, and Reels had to now compete. So everything homogenizes. And then Shop comes along and they've probably, to your point, Ben, they're probably best placed to continue to drive that forward out of every social platform. And this has been a topic for a decade. Everyone's been talking about social commerce. And you're right.
Well, they partnered with Amazon the other week. I'm not sure on what the details were of it, but they have partnered with Amazon a couple of weeks ago. That interestingly,
that's big. If it's the logistics of delivering,
it will be something to do with logistics. And it's funny because a lot of people are looking into the obviously TikTok ban and Trump being in power, and there's been articles written about Zuck making a generous donation to the Trump fund. People going, oh yeah, and then there's also been Bezos and his gang also making donations as well. And with that, because a ban in the US for that Amazon partnership will be that would be massive, really shit.
Yeah,
that will be massive, because I presume Amazon in the US is their Amazon's biggest market.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's interesting to see what's going to happen. I guess with the ban, but I do think shop is going to continue to evolve, ban or no ban. That shop and more premium products. The thing is, nobody really has much insight in the development of shop in China and how it's got to where it is today. And this might just be what it was like when they first started, in that it was cheapy shit. It was like low value products, and it might be that when you think about it, when the people who are who the fuck's buying off TikTok Shop right now? It's going to be Gen Z, the Gen Wokes, whatever they're called. Those people are buying off Shop.
Then have you bought off anything off TikTok Shop?
I bought one thing and it was this little metal like spinner. It's a load of shit. I've still got it. It cost me £10.
I'll tell you, I bought one item. I bought some Snide Beats headphones, and I didn't know they were like
headphones.
I bought some headphones. So this guy, it came up on my feed. He's going, and this was when this was the first week that TikTok Shop had rolled out.
Yeah, I bought mine like 2 years ago or so.
Yeah, and I was like, of course they can't sell fake goods on TikTok. This was the official, so it was a very sort of limited pool of creators that could do this. I'm like, of course it can't be fake. And I was like, oh, so they're doing like a loss leader. I got to buy some Beats headphones for 30 quid, like a £200 pair. 250, £300 pair of headphones for 30 quid. I got them after like 3 months, obviously drop shipped from China.
Yeah, I had to wait a long time.
They were so fake, and yeah, I think I threw them away. But the point being is, I was like, how did they get? I thought, how could TikTok launch this? Use an approved creator, and here we are. This was maybe a year and a half ago, though.
But just to end on the point that I was making, like if you think about the consumer, you've got the younger people who are buying off TikTok, and they're buying low value products because the amount of money that they have that suits that. You know, they're happy with the shitty items because they're not going out and buying expensive stuff because the amount they have.
Is there
as
an
they
age
get
limit
older,
to purchase them through the shop?
Probably not.
Wow.
Like you probably just used mum and dad's card. As they get older, the trust that they have in buying from TikTok is going to increase. Therefore, introducing and when they get older, they'll have more money. And then where are they going to buy from when they're 25, 30? If they've started buying off TikTok from 13,
normalize that behavior.
Yeah. And in that period of time, TikTok would have progressed forward into selling more higher value items, of which the trust would have been built up, and that audience will buy. Like, ask me whether I'm buying like a £300 monitor off TikTok. Absolutely no way. I'm buying off that. Off Amazon, I see reviews, but somebody in 5 years, 10 years time that's had a good lengthy user experience with TikTok and is used to it will do that in 5 or 10 years times. And I think that's how it will develop 100%. Like I can't see how it won't.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to sit there and develop TikTok shop and not explore selling really high value items on there, because that's where they'll make big margins. So
yeah, well, what's the affiliate fee? They take 25%, or is it
something like that?
They subsidize for a period, so you basically they
do heavy discounts on there because it's funny. Chris Williamson and James Smith's Neutron. I see their drink on there all the fucking time. They're obviously realizing that TikTok shop is good for them because they run a lot of ads. And one of their ads is, funnily enough, like, is them saying that TikTok are offering them a big discount. Like they are whether there's any truth to it or not. TikTok, I could kind of get a kind of taking a hit on the discount themselves.
They subsidize,
which is what you just mentioned, isn't it? Yeah.
It's to attract retail. Like if you get the merchants on board, it's like a no-brainer for brands today. Like really is a no-brainer. Obviously, once you have enough transactions running through the business, they'll switch the pricing model and it'll shift.
They're just using it for kind of business acquisition, right?
Yeah. To your point, they've got to do two things. They've got to get as many merchants using shop, but they also have to so the incentive has to be there for merchants. Alongside that, they have to normalize the behavior. That'll take a long time to truly, but once you've done it once and you have, to your point, you have a decent experience, you only have to do it a few times and like you see that makeup brand and like there's a discount from your favorite creator. I actually think TikTok shop is like the winners today have been creator brands because they're doing it through the lens of them. They've been the like early adopters that have really won. I think over time we'll see more incumbent businesses. I think, the Zaras of the world will start to gain some advantages. Anyone who does kind of drops or does collections or limited collections, I think they'll use live as a primary vehicle to get rid of kind of select items. And that's where you probably transition into the premium market.
You know what my predictions of this will be is it's going to be used for stunts. And I reckon that regulation is going to step in. Because think about it, like the only way to get like a fast fashion stunt out right now is through TikTok. And that's the only place that's unregulated. If you were going to do a TV ad, TV regulations would abide. If you were going to do a newspaper ad or anything else, social media is the only place that you can do shopping ads that are not regulated to the same letter of the law that other places are regulated. So it's just a matter of time till someone breaks a regulation and then countries step in and say, you can't run these type of like shopping ads and stuff, is my prediction.
That's true. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. You're right. Advertising regulations are pretty strict
They're
in terms of
really
what
strict.
you can say and can't say about certain products in certain categories.
Exactly.
And TikTok is the Wild West. You've got people selling, especially under health category. There's all sorts of shit being sold under health category.
Do you know what made me think about that?
Pills for hair,
when
all
you
sorts.
said about those fake headphones, Ollie, I was thinking, are you even protected? Like, I don't think you are, because like a live.
No, they said they were real. They lied. Like,
well, like, you know, that would be fraudulent in any other way.
Yeah, you get those back then, shouldn't you? Because like on PayPal, you know, they've just got a money back guarantee on any item that's fake. Maybe that's something that TikTok will develop, though. They whether they decide to.
But it's right now they have to turn a blind eye for it because they're trying to normalize the behavior.
Turn a blind eye to everything.
Yeah, they do. It's like Amazon turned a blind eye to fakes for the longest time. eBay used to allow fakes because that was one of the biggest marketplaces until every fashion house in the world went, if you don't do something about this, we are suing the shit out of you.
Yeah.
You are enabling, you're an active participant in the counterfeit market. And like they had to act, but it went on for many, many years. And TikTok Shop, to your point, Greg, great point, is the wild, wild west. And how long will the platforms turn a blind eye? Who knows?
I love that fake, the fraud one, because I bought a Tommy Hilfiger jumper once off eBay. It didn't say it was genuine, but I thought, we'll give it a go. I got it, and I knew it wasn't genuine.
Yeah.
I messaged the guy and he said, this is fake.
Yeah.
He said, no, it's not. I said, yeah, this is fake. And I know. So he went, no, like, just keep it. I was like, if you don't give me a refund, I'm just going to submit a ticket to eBay that this is fake. He went, just keep it, mate. Here's your refund. And I was like, yeah. So like, I love that like fraud thing because you'll win you'll win all the time on PayPal.
Like, think about it. Like, put your shoes in the steps of like a counterfeiter. Like, what's the easiest way to, you know, quickly make a TikTok, go live, do 24/7, round the clock gambling, like, you know, gamified to children selling. You know, this is terrible. And then what's the repercussions? Oh, you get your TikTok account banned. So then you make another one. There's no physical store where you get arrested. There's no gaming laws. There's no gambling laws. None of that is completely unregulated. Like,
that's what these agencies.
Mr. Beast is selling gambling to kids as well. You know, he's been doing lotteries and all these things, and he knows his average TikTok user is like 10 years old, and yet he's introducing gambling to these kids. It's really scary times, honestly. Like, I think he would never get away with that stuff in mainstream media. It had to be via the medium of YouTube and other things. And, you know, we know that we talked about Australia banning under 16s, right? Like, if that was the case and that was a worldwide thing, okay, because then over 16s can watch gambling ads and, you know, have the awareness and adultness to know that this is what's happening instead of being hypnotized by their favorite, you know, influencer that they've got a pseudo relationship with and then buying a mummy and daddy's Visa card, some fake product from China. Like, that's crazy.
You know how you're describing these things, Chris? I'm thinking, my mind instantly went to how difficult it is to really like govern a social media platform.
God, it's almost impossible. They can't even hire enough humans to do it. They rely on algorithms and AI, which gets a lot wrong as well. Because of how much, you know, like daily content is being uploaded to these platforms. It's not humanly possible. You're talking in the thousands of years per day uploaded to every platform.
And you're stuck between this tension between these being utilities now. They are effectively things that people need to communicate, to share ideas. So you have the tension of freedom of speech and action.
Definitely.
You then have policy, and you have all the like fringe injustices that come if you overstep on policy. You make it difficult for creators, the costs. Getting these balances right is goddamn impossible. It really is like an impossible
to finish this up, like, you made such a good observation. So many people have tried this. In-app shopping has failed everywhere other than Facebook Marketplace. That's the only place that ever got a version of it, right?
But they don't take any,
like a Craigslist
they don't benefit from that, do they? It's just the money. It's just, they don't benefit. So like they haven't been able to commercialize that. And TikTok Shop is kind of the first. I'm gonna say, and it's ironic that everyone referenced live shopping in Asia. as social shopping and normal common practice across most people. And it was an Asian social platform that managed to win. Like, obviously, ByteDance had the advantage in Western markets.
I keep having thoughts about this. I'm really sorry, right? I thought for a second that TikTok could champion the small business because essentially this could save small businesses. But then I recognized if TikTok take a 25% cut and Amazon also take a cut as well, then businesses are really going to struggle with those margins. Like they're going to have to inflate their products,
Well,
to sell it to make
you're right
margin.
in one sense, because right now it is, I believe it's subsidized. I'm not
Right.
100% on that, but it
When they
was for a
pay the full
period.
rates, it's going to be really tough for
It's
businesses that
going to
make
be
fine margins.
it's going to be difficult. It works for high volume traders. So you can be a small
Right.
business and, like, buy cheap products and still make good margin. But I think one of the bigger problems in this equation is like this general macro question around the ethics of creators. Because the social shopping experience is like entertainment meets shopping.
Mm.
So it's at the center of this is usually a personality. And in most cases, that's why creator brands win, because you have a personality that is selling a product that they have skin in the game, that is theirs. They can speak about it authentically, um, and so on. Right, gents, I want to segue into our second section, 'cause I'm conscious we've gone for 45 bloody minutes on what we got wrong. So we'll try and keep this a little shorter. But Chris, give us something you got right last year that proved to be very true today.
Mm.
Your gloat. What are you going to
Well,
gloat about?
well, I did say things were going to simplify because at one point AI was getting needlessly complex. We were actually in the territory of dev and not art direction anymore. Like prompt engineering towards late last year essentially became how good are you at copywriting and dev, because that's very going to help you in your art direction through AI. But now, and I kind of predicted this, AI is enhancing people's prompt. So you can write something very basic, like a dog with a hat, and then you click a button and enhance the prompt, and AI will rewrite your prompt and write a much better one, which will result in you getting a very nice piece of artwork back. Whereas before, that wouldn't have got you very good art. So that's kind of one of my predictions, is things will simplify. And so I'll definitely pat myself on the back and say, a lot of people predicted it would be the other way. There's going to get more and more complex as the models get more and more complex. It'll be harder and harder to talk to them. That's what lots of other people were saying. And I said, no, I think actually the interface is going to become easier and easier and easier so that the friction becomes less.
Yeah. And you think that trend's going to continue? So you don't think it's going to like
100%,
niche
yeah.
out? It's going to keep getting simpler. Interesting on that, someone described this to me a few days ago. I had a conversation with someone building a MarTech startup. Interesting platform, and he described his view on kind of generative AI tools and platforms fall into two camps, particularly in marketing. You have those that are extremely simplified, that don't require a lot of input, and you get mediocre outcomes, but there's zero friction. Like, I ask a prompt, I get a very basic response back, or a basic image, or a basic video, whatever the outcome is. Then you have platforms like Midjourney, where if you're very prescriptive, you understand prompting, they're a lot more technical, they're a bit more reiterative, but when you get there, the outcomes can be incredible. So it's like, there are platforms now that give you mediocre to average responses that are zero friction. And then conversely, you have ones where the human has to put a lot of effort and have mastery and skills in order to get the right outcomes. And I thought that was a really nice observation, because I think that's very true of kind of very broad category across every sort of field and domain within the generative space.
Well, it's interesting you brought up Midjourney, because Midjourney wasn't very beginner friendly, but now it kind of is. So they've even tried to, understand that onboarding new people is really important. I think everybody that started out complex has had to simplify over time. And it was a learning curve that it's been implemented faster by others than not everyone's done the same thing. some are very complex to use still. Like if you use Comfy UI, you basically have to be a developer. You need to know about nodes, you need to know about connections, you need to know about interfacing and like building your own interface and all this other stuff. But if you use something like DALL-E 2, you can literally type 2 words and get some amazing art. Like, so the spectrum of this stuff, but yeah, as a general, like, I think that the best experience will win over the best quality over time. It's the Apple way, like Apple made things so simple and so easy to use. And yes, they are the best for certain things, but it's not the more raw horsepower that you can get with like Windows, when you spec it up.
Do you,
You can modify it, but
do you think though, my general thesis now is, and you see this in the data, there's certain limitations of large language models under the sort of transformer construct.
yeah,
There's technical limitations where in theory they can get better, but you're starting to see a slowing down of that, bridging that uncanny valley. Don't
yeah.
get me wrong, they're getting so close, but that tiny little incremental bit to make them usable and effective in the real world, like to do great marketing or to produce great literature or, to solve complex problems or to then execute actions. That gap, even that it's small, is so wide as a technical
Mm.
challenge. It's very
But it's just
difficult.
a filter, if you think about it. Like, if it has the corpus of the knowledge of the internet that's all it needs. It's just the way that we're bandwidthing it to us in order to make it actionable and useful. Actually, that was the big ChatGPT breakthrough, is nobody predicted that this would be that useful to that many people. How wrong they were.
Yeah, well,
Like
the idea of an
just a
LLM in its
smart
current
chatbot.
form.
Yeah,
Well,
like
you're
a chatbot being that useful.
condensing humanity's knowledge into parameters that can be used in like really functional ways,
Yeah,
right? It's going, and it speaks to that point I mentioned, I think in the green room where we were talking about being deterministic. Technology used to be deterministic in the sense that you would ask a question, look for an outcome, and you would get very specific responses.
Mm.
In a world with large language models, everything now is probabilistic, meaning there are multiple options that can be given at any given time, and that requires us to shift how we think about interfacing with technology, how we conduct ourselves in work. It really is fascinating when you think of these like macro behavioral shifts because of this sweep of technology.
it is because you now have intelligence on tap. That's never been something that we've had before, that you could subscribe to intelligence. And like a lot of people were saying, OpenAI are very bold for trying to charge $200 a month for their thing. But if you think about that being a fifth of the cost of an employee, it only has to provide a fifth of the value of its intelligence, and it's far more intelligent than that. So again, if you're a business, it's a no-brainer. It's whether individuals find $200 a month worth of intelligence useful enough to warrant that cost. But businesses, that's a no-brainer. They pay a lot more for intelligence than that, I can assure you.
100%. Ben, from your perspective, like I think you've seen across creator tools, you're seeing that simplification. If I think of the success of CapCut, CapCut gives you templates of like amazingly creative, interesting templates that people can use. How do you feel about that as a creator, this simplification?
Yeah, CapCut have dominated that market. They've got really, really good one-click effects that no other program does as effectively. And they also have a template program. They have an incentive template program. People probably don't know about it. There's it's just very popular, the younger generation in templates. Templates are just like a 10-second video that has certain effects applied to it, and there's like sections where you put your pictures or your video
I've
into
used
that
one of them.
section.
They're really cool. They do
They're cool. You've got these
one.
little 15-year-old kids absolutely farm those out. They've got an incentive program where basically you sign up to it. It's one of their main creator
I didn't know
incentive
that
programs.
they paid. That's really cool.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, based off of how much your template is used.
Good for
Well, you
them.
could buy them, right? Is that even in free? Is that in free templates? Because you can buy templates, right? So I assume they were a commercial transaction, but is that even the free ones?
people make those templates. They're just users that make those templates in the program, and then if your template gets used a number amount, you make money from that. So there's lots of people that make those templates. It's a super competitive incentive program. Nobody else has that. I really like
cool.
that. I don't know how much
do you know
money
if
that
it's a
churns.
rev share model? Because you don't actually buy them, Ollie. You just use them. But then there's a number of like how many users, and like the other day I was going into CapCut and I had like a photo bomb type thing, end of year thing.
Yeah, that's what people use.
Yeah,
it's
and like I found
bomb.
like I searched up Kendrick Lamar because obviously TikTok's got all the good beats. So then someone's made this like really nice 50-second thing with like 100 uploads, and you just literally drag and drop your 50 images, and then it like puts it into the pre-made template. But they don't ever charge you for that. You literally just see how many people have used it.
Can you get some I'm sure some of them are charged. I know there's a.
It might be that you have to be on the pro. There might be some that you can only get on the pro plan.
Or maybe the whole thing is a pro, feature, and therefore it's
some
a $20
free. Yeah,
subscription.
I know there are tons that are free that are all user generated, and that's basically what you see. Tons of viral content.
That's cool.
Yeah,
if you could buy them,
super simple.
Like a lot of my friends in the early days, they used to make website templates in this very same format and then sell them on places, that you can buy a template in like a WordPress website for accounting or marketing or something like this. Like,
yeah, it's really cool. It's like it's the fragmentation of the creator economy. It's allowing individuals that are you're seeing it a lot in graphic design, doing treatments for graphic design, graphic packs, photographers selling. That's becoming common because content needs are just expanding.
Yeah,
individuals are now media entities. They're production houses, and talented people now have so many ways of commercializing their ideas, their skills, and they can do it in a way that is scalable. And that's what I think is kind of like fascinating. I've been immersed as I've been creating these new businesses for Co-Created. I've been immersed into a world of graphic packs and images and lots of things that I probably hadn't been exposed to in a long time, or certainly for many years, and I've seen how much the market's evolved. Gents, I'm conscious of time. I want to give you my very quick debate. So the thing I'm going to gloat about most is I wrote a post maybe a year ago how search is going to be disrupted in a way that it hasn't since its infancy. And I talked about PR becoming increasingly important. And my general thesis was that if we move from an era where we have organized the internet, I search, I then discover, I validate, take an example. I want to find a restaurant in X town. I get a number of recommendations. I go to check my peer reviews, etc., etc. That is discovery. And discovery is a huge part of search. We're now moving into an era where we skip discovery. We go to large language model chat interface and we expect a specific outcome, maybe multiple recommendations, but generally we want to narrow choice and give people a specific outcome. This changes the whole search dynamic, and the tech companies building large language models are now figuring out how they commercialize that. And we saw Perplexity this year roll out some of their beta testing for their ad product. We've seen, and if you think of their UX, it's really well placed to do it in a quite a thoughtful way. And I think now OpenAI have more recently announced that they will be doing an ad product to close their revenue gap, which is they're burning billions over the next couple of years in their race for AI. I was staggered when I found this out about OpenAI. They have about 350 million daily active users using ChatGPT, and only 18 million of those users are paid users, paying £20. Hence why they have to try and introduce the £200 subscription. But to move from £20 of value to £200 a month, I think they're going to have some challenges. In the same way LinkedIn give you the free feature, But then premium isn't that much better unless you're like a recruiter or a salesperson. For everybody else, it doesn't add any more utility. I think there will be some commercial challenges for OpenAI, but that's a side point. My big gloat is search will change forever. You're seeing more and more people talk about this, and now you're seeing new search ad products being injected. I think this is only going to expand into next year and beyond.
Mate, I think you're so on the nail, because Perplexity came out of nowhere. That's an entirely new way to do search. And those guys have just raised up to, they're in the $1 billion valuation club. And no one's ever been there with Google before. You know, like Bing was the closest thing, a Microsoft thing, but 5% of the share, a market share. And so Google really dominated this search space. Now we're going to see a whole new version of search through AI, I think.
And think on that, how that influences so many elements of marketing. You've got paid search, you've got new ad products.
Yeah, Perplexity ads are going to be amazing. They're going to be.
You've also got how you influence large language models and effectively growth hack and manipulate. So SEO changes in a really material way.
Yeah.
Because we are now moving from not just search in content engines like TikTok and obviously Bing's, YouTube's, etc. You now have large language models playing in discovery space.
Yeah.
So you think of then that affects the content industry, affects the creative industry, affects the B2B industry. So suddenly this one shift in user behavior transforms and creates so much opportunity for marketeers.
Yeah. Crazy times in search.
So I am proud of that one. I will gloat about that. Ben, give us your gloat.
Not sure whether what I was thinking a year ago, to be honest. I think there's been a lot of predictions around shift of content creation to more raw style. Though I saw that happening, even though I disagree with the fact that it's actually a trend in terms of people preferring it. I think people have always preferred it. I think the audience that has grown up with Mr. Beast has grown out of Mr. Beast, and they are the ones driving a narrative that everybody now prefers raw content, and it's just this echo chamber of people saying stuff that actually don't really know what they're talking about. Oh yeah, everyone now prefers raw, like raw. No, when have people not preferred raw content? Tell me that. Never. And it's just, I don't think it's a trend. It's not a trend. It's just people are voicing it.
I understand on that one, matey. I've heard this narrative. You know the overused term in marketing forever, authentic. You create authentic.
Oh, it's just that fucking bullshit.
It's a terrible word, but what I will say is people conflate when they say raw, they just mean shit production value. That's what they actually mean. And actually, I don't believe that fallacy in the sense of the only thing that matters on social media is mindset. When I go to TikTok, generally I'm looking for cheap thrills, which is cheap thrills to me are things that are funny. Lo-fi, low production content is funny. I'm also looking for like real. So real is the word that they use a lot, or like raw. But the point being is it's got nothing to do with the production value. But there is a time and a place where great content will always succeed. If you produce something that's increased, as long as it ticks the box of being contextually relevant, meaning like it makes me feel something, I learn, I'm immersed. So like,
I honestly thought the difference was scripted or unscripted. Because
that's interesting. Yeah, that's probably a better framing, actually.
To me, like Mr. Beast is supposed to be seen as a competition, but they make it the most possible anticipated outcomes. You know, they even have been caught delaying the games and, you know, making them seem fairer or more competitive than they actually were in order to make the better video. And so to me, that's scripted, even though it's raw, because it's supposed to be an in-person real game that real random.
So it's not about production value like cinematic versus shit. It's actually
like,
about.
Do you know what you're about to say or want to happen, or are you just literally live streaming yourself stream of consciousness. Whatever comes to mind comes to mind. You didn't have like, social cues or anything set up or staged. That to me is raw and authentic versus oh no, I wrote this in advance. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. And it happened.
Yeah.
I think the cause of this authentic nonsense is that more people are creating content, and the raw versus not raw argument,
Yeah, it's hard to know.
is what's happened is more people are creating content, and more people are it's easier to create high production content than it is to create good content. So more people creating content have the money and ability, or they can acquire the knowledge on how to create high production value content. And so you make this leap to high production value content, but you miss out the part in the middle, which is essentially the idea, the theme, the topic,
Good storytelling.
the storytelling, the knowledge. And so now more people are producing high value production content, but it's actually still shit content. And so now people are making this association with, people don't want to see high production content.
Yeah,
people don't want to see this. People want raw content. No, like you said, Ollie, people just want good content. It doesn't matter whether it's fucking raw, whether it's shot with an 8K camera.
Yeah.
They just want good content, because I can find you the highest production content on the internet, but it's also exceptionally good content. If you go look at Marques Brownlee, look at his content, you don't get higher production quality than that in terms of what he films off and the production value. And it's very good content because he's mastered the middle part. Most people haven't mastered the middle part. And so people are making a wrong assumption that people now prefer raw content. No, because I can find you millions of pieces of raw content that is dog shit because it's come from people that don't know how to do the middle part. They just have a phone. We've now just got these two different types of people who will do low production and people that can do high production, because they're both fairly easily accessible to certain types of people with varying amounts of wealth.
Yep.
And the people, what still remains the same is the middle part, which is the hardest skill to master. And once you can master storytelling, script writing, just engaging people as a short attention span, you can create content in any production value you want, and it will do fairly all right.
That's where I'll give Mr. Beast a really good shout out back, because I was critical of him a minute ago, right? But he actually said, and he's quoted on a podcast as saying this: if you haven't uploaded 100 videos to YouTube, never ask me for advice. I don't care until you've made over 100 videos, what you do, how good you are, how production-wise you are. Until you've made 100, you don't know what's going to do well. So don't even ask me. And I like that, because that is kind of like a gateway point where by 100 uploads, you've tried various things. Your storytelling must have improved a little bit, and you know what's doing well in the algorithm, and then you up the production and go into the next level of things. But they've all started there. Marques Brownlee and Mr. Beast were just live streaming through a live webcam themselves. Mr. Beast said Logan Paul's name 100,000 times. That was one of his first early viral videos, a webcam of himself for 48 hours just saying Logan Paul 100,000 times.
Yeah, and if you look at most creators that emerge, they have that, just the commitment to the cause. But I like
creativity, because they need that to stand out over production.
Well, it's original. Like me said, I don't think, being very honest, I think saying Logan Paul 24 hours is just stupid. But
it was just a unique thing to do.
No, that's like originality. There's a difference between creativity. I don't think that's creative. I think it's original thinking. I don't think it's creative. I think that's shit, terrible content unless you're a 9-year-old. If you're a 9-year-old, you might like it.
It was
what I love about, but again, I'm not a fan of Mr. Beast because I'm not the audience. I'm not a 9-year-old brain dead person. So for me, it doesn't really matter to me. I never have been his audience. Like I'd rather sit and listen to Lex Friedman. Like, we're in different lanes. So it's
100% me too.
That's kind of that's kind of a side point. But what I love about what you're both saying there is, I think this idea and this falsehood is, at the end of the day, content has to serve a purpose. It has to learn. It has to make you feel something. It has to inspire you. It has to take you places. And that's content. What people get caught up on is format. And format is production value. It's like how relevant it is at the time. It's where it lives. And format can be a huge multiplier. You can take a mediocre story and use a format to make it a good story, but it'll still never be amazing. It'll still never, you can only go so far with format. So if more people focus on the important bit, which is what you were describing there, Chris, is like the knowledge to be a good creator, what Ben was saying there of like the story arc, the skill, the mastery, the format's almost irrelevant, but the format is a multiplier. So the two work hand in hand.
I think Ben got it right, though. The foundations need to be storytelling first before production, because no good you have in production if you can't tell the story.
You can't. Yeah,
there's too many podcasts out there now with high production with no storytelling, and they're all flopping. It's very hard to get a podcast to stand out. Actually,
yeah, you've got to be really thoughtful.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Right, we're going to go into our final section. We'll try and keep this brief because we've talked for a long time. But let's give our top tip predictions. Chris, just give us a few. We'll not debate them, but just hit us with 2025 predictions. Go.
I think gaming will see a big influence with AI. I also think series and movies will start to see a lot bigger influence with AI. And in general, AI is going to influence all of the things that have creative output a lot more and faster than we predict as well. Because I saw literally a Joe Rogan interview with the legend himself, Quentin Tarantino, talking about himself being a runway user. And that shocked me. So when you've already got Tarantino on your sides, I can see adoption rates going a lot faster.
Love that. Ben, hit us with your predictions.
I think people, specifically within content creation, beginners are going to get lazier because they're going to rely on AI, and the skill gap is going to increase. Hurrah. It's good for me. Because what's going to happen is people go, oh, look, I can just create an avatar and I upload my script and I can do 10 a week.
Right.
Yeah, but what skill are you developing there? People are going to get lazier in creating content because it's easier to create content and they don't learn the hard skills. And the people who have been doing content for a while, who continue to learn the hard skills, they also adopt the AI stuff that helps with the workflow and efficiency, and they just get far, far better than beginners. And not to say all beginners will take that approach, but I think I see a lot of creators who are adopting the AI avatar approach. That's the content that they create, and I think you are not practicing or developing the most important skill when it comes to content creation, and that is on camera presence. Arguably, maybe not if you're a faceless channel, but those faceless channels are going to become competitive as fuck. And so if anyone can pump out AI avatar content, then how are you going to distinguish yourself within that category? I don't know. You have to become really good script writing, storyteller, etc. But I think they're going to all compete with each other. I think more people are going to do that content, and less people are going to actually do the harder stuff, which is like being on camera and talking, which means the people that do that are going to become more valuable and actually win long term. Maybe similar to sort of, it's not like it's kind of orange and apples, but like paintings and shit like that, where like people, that sort of, let's just say traditional content where people are talking on screen becomes more desirable from people because there will be a point where the AI avatars become indistinguishable from normal people. But I think when it gets to that point, there will have to be there will have to be disclosures, and it will be built into platforms for them to be able to pick that up. I did actually see Meta have launched a video watermarking thing the other week, open source, that like you can watermark a video without seeing it. And I do think that technology is going to have to be adopted by platforms. And I mean, there's this question of, well, if a model is open source, then they can just take that stuff out and not include that. But I mean, this is just like anything on the web. I do think TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are going to have to implement something that watermarks videos made by AI, and they're not just relying on someone ticking a box to say it's made by AI, because people don't do that. And so therefore, perhaps it has its own feed. I mean, this is not this year, but in the current coming years, maybe there's an AI feed, AI generated feed, and an organic feed, like where people just want talking head content from real people rather than fake people. Who knows? But I do think there's a place for both. I just don't know what that place looks like when both are when the AI avatar has caught up and is indistinguishable.
That's the massive issue. If you think social media is hard to regulate, try regulating photorealistic AI generated content.
Yeah.
And then saying to someone, because all the time you're going to get lawsuits. No, I was real. No, you need to prove it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be about like proving ownership and authenticity. And it's going to become a very, very strange environment.
Well, someone could just create an account of me and just basically create an avatar of me and just start uploading.
Well, California's a bit ahead of this because obviously they've got so many Hollywood protection of rights and stuff, because they've just passed laws now where if you are an AI model, you have to include a watermark, and you cannot and are liable if you do any celebrities. Now, the thing that doesn't protect is everyday people. So I think the government...
They will do at some point.
Yeah, governments will step in to regulate the rights. This is why we haven't just got Thor and Vio, by the way. The UK and Europe did not agree to the terms and conditions that the rest of the world just agreed on to get those things. And so sadly, we're stifled by the innovation.
Yeah, I agree. Right, gents, I'm going to round us off with my predictions. AI agents, the rise of agents in 2025 and the death of the word. I think we will become fatigued, and like most trend or hype cycles, we will hate the word. By the end of the year, we will.
I think they'll just be called employees, honestly, AI employees.
My second prediction: AI gets very expensive. I think we're transitioning into a period where AI will increasingly, OpenAI will open the floodgates for these really expensive subscriptions similar to SaaS. Usually companies make businesses pay premiums to get access to technology. I think individuals will also have to pay a premium. So how long the freemium space will last for the best access to the best tools, I don't know. The debate of the TikTok ban. So historically, TikTok has been contested in the US. This is not the first time this has happened, but maybe we will actually see the ban of TikTok in the US, and there'll be some corporate engineering in order to keep it alive and a sell-off or something of that nature. Platforms, TikTok Shop will continue to rise in its dominance, assuming TikTok in the US does not get banned in some way. I'm going to say the continued rise of the linked influencer. I think as a consequence of that, B2B marketing gets a little less boring and a little more human and creative. And then my final prediction will be that big creative ideas are put into the spotlight again, because we will see so much mediocre AI-generated creative works in 2025.
Yeah, already seeing it.
Great creative is going to thrive very soon again.
I like that last prediction, because can you imagine when there's 30 times more people doing it, and then 50 times, and then 100 times more people doing it? Like, I think the AI avatar stuff on Instagram is going to get very boring very fast.
100%.
And it's, unless they constantly ship new updates like TikTok have been very good at, I think that's going to become another flop for them.
I think, I genuinely think as well, algorithms will suppress all of the AI avatar content over
quite
time.
Possibly.
Because if, like you said, Chris, if there's now 50, 100 times more people doing it, the user experience is going to be terrible.
Definitely.
If every other video is an AI avatar, people are going to get really pissed off.
And the big thing that they don't want is like this is why everyone's been asked to verify their social media as being human, because advertisers can't reach bots. You know, if you make an agentic like social media profile, i.e. there's no human managing it, you can't sell anything to it. So that's a really big issue for social media companies, is how do you stop agentic social media influencers just popping up that you can't actually get any value from? They're just extracting value from you.
Yeah, it's just
That's going to
just
be
more.
really tough to moderate that.
They say it's the year of abundance, and abundance doesn't mean better. So I actually think the opportunity for the creatives in the industry, the thinkers, people with original ideas, I actually think it's a great time for those people. So
vlogging and podcasting, that's why I'm going into vlogging, because vlogging is not going to be something that can be replicated by AI for a very long time. And sort of in-person podcasts and just sort of,
that's definitely your biggest moat. I've been thinking about that, actually. That's maybe a nice thing to round this up with. You know, what are the biggest moats for people? I think if you're a content creator, vlogging in real time is probably one of the biggest moats you've got.
Yeah, I think that's what people are gonna want more of, when, you know, that's going to become more desirable from consumers.
Definitely.
Just that, you know, that person to person connection.
Yeah.
And talking head is what is at most risk, like desk talking head, which is kind of what I do in a lot of creative.
Which is kind of like LinkedIn's entire video feed.
Yeah.
Don't come after Bay, Chris. We love LinkedIn here. Right, fellas, what I will say, it has been a hell of a pleasure bantering with you across 2024. We're gonna have some more fun in 2025. And thank you to Jay, the wizard behind the scenes,
marvelous producer,
doing our content. What a guy. Phenomenal.
He's gonna get a lot of meme submissions from me this year. Yeah, this episode.
Love it. Yeah, thank you, gents. I've really enjoyed this. Genuinely mean that.
Yeah. Same.
Good fun.
We met this year. That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I've known you too long, both of you. So
most people I talk to this much, I've known for like 5-6 years. So that's
yeah. It's good. It's good. Friendships are born. I love it. Cool. All right, gents.
Happy New Year, gents. Have a great
2025.